Hey warriors, there is a type of person who never seems rattled. You have seen them. Someone challenges them publicly. They don't flinch. Someone spreads lies about them. They stay quiet and composed. Someone tries to humiliate them in front of a crowd. And instead of breaking down, they just smile. A calm, almost unbothered smile that makes everyone in the room deeply uncomfortable, except them. What do these people know that you don't? They figured out something that Machiavelli figured out 5 centuries ago. Something that the greatest strategists, the most powerful rulers, and the most untouchable individuals throughout all of history had in common. Your emotions are not just feelings. They are information, and whoever reads that information first gains power over you. Every time you react, you hand someone your map. You show them exactly where your pressure points are. You show them where to push, where to pull, and how to keep you off balance. The moment you stay calm, genuinely, strategically calm, you take that map back. You fold it up, you put it away, and now you are the one with the advantage. Most people think calm is something you feel. It is not. Calm is something you choose. And in today's video, I am going to break down 7 specific situations where that choice matters most. These are real, raw social scenarios where your composure, or the lack of it, determines whether you come out ahead or come out broken. Stay with me through all 7, because by the end, you will not just understand this concept, you will feel it shifting something in the way you see every room you walk into. Now, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I am unreadable. Number 1. Stay calm when you are publicly mocked. Someone decides to make you the entertainment. Maybe it's at a social gathering. Maybe it's in a group of people you thought were your friends. Maybe it's in a crowd where you barely know anyone. They take something you said, exaggerate it, twist it, and then deliver it like a punchline. People laugh, eyes swing toward you, and in that fraction of a second, everything inside you wants to fire back. That urge, that burning, immediate desire to defend yourself, is exactly what they're counting on. Here is what happens in that space from a pure human dynamics standpoint. The person mocking you has just made a move. They've presented you as something weak, ridiculous, or worth laughing at. The crowd is waiting, not to hear what you say, but to see how you respond. Because how you respond tells them whether the framing was true. If you get flustered, you've confirmed it. If you get angry, you've confirmed it even louder. But if you stay calm, the move collapses. The framing doesn't land. And now the crowd is watching the person who tried too hard, the one who needed the laugh badly enough to put someone else down just to feel taller for a moment. That is not strength. That is desperation wearing a smirk. And people with real awareness can spot it from across the room. The person mocking you is using social force. They are trying to push you down through public pressure and humiliation, but you don't fight force with force. You fight it with stillness, with a slow nod, a quiet half smile, or simply saying nothing at all and letting the silence do the heavy lifting. Silence is one of the most underrated weapons a person can carry. It builds pressure without a single word. It forces the other person to fill the void, and when they do, they almost always reveal far more about themselves than they planned to. Think about what it looks like from the outside when someone throws a jab at you and you don't even blink. You don't scramble. You don't stumble. You just hold your ground, relaxed and steady, like the jab barely registered. That image, that picture of someone standing tall while another person swings and misses, tells a story to every single person watching. And the story is not about the person who got mocked. It's about the person who swung and couldn't find a mark. The mockery does not define you. Your response does. And when you respond with calm, You don't just survive the moment, you take it. Number 2, stay calm when someone suddenly acts like your ally. You know someone who has been quietly working against you. They've been spreading doubt about you behind closed doors, saying one thing to your face, something completely different when you're not around. You've sensed the resistance. You've caught the looks. You've noticed that things you say somehow get twisted before they reach other ears. And then, out of nowhere, they flip. They start agreeing with you in front of others. They compliment your thinking. They suddenly position themselves as your biggest supporter. The natural human reaction to this is relief. Finally, the friction is over. They see me now. Everything is going to be fine. Stop right there. Do not relax yet. Machiavelli spent his entire career studying how power actually moves, how princes fell, how rivals shifted, how people who looked loyal one day became dangerous the next. And one pattern he observed again and again was this: people do not change sides because they had a sudden change of heart. They change sides because the landscape changed around them. If someone who quietly opposed you is now wrapping an arm around your shoulder, ask yourself honestly, what shifted? Did your position in some way get stronger? Did someone they were depending on disappear? Did they realize that standing against you was no longer a safe bet? Did they need access to something you now have? Machiavelli once said, "Keep your friends close and your enemies closer." But the part people consistently miss is that the enemy remains the enemy. Keeping them close does not mean trusting them. It means watching them up close with clear eyes while giving nothing sensitive away. When someone pivots toward you, your job is not to open up. Your job is to observe. What do they want from this proximity? What are they learning while they stand next to you? What move are they setting up while you're busy feeling relieved? You can accept the alliance on the surface, be warm, be gracious, show nothing, while internally your eyes stay wide open. Do not announce your suspicion. Do not confront them. That would be clumsy and reactive. Stay calm, stay alert, and watch where they stand the next time something difficult happens. That is the real test. Not what someone says when things are comfortable, what they do when things get hard. The most dangerous assumption in any social situation is believing that because someone stopped pushing against you, they started caring about you. Those are two very different things, and confusing them has ended more people than any open enemy ever could. Stay calm, stay patient. Let time do the revealing. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I observe before I trust. Number 3, stay calm when you are being ignored. Human beings are wired to seek acknowledgement. That need runs deep, deeper than most people are willing to admit. When someone withholds that acknowledgement on purpose, when they talk around you, look through you, cut you out of conversations you should be part of, or act like your presence in the room barely registers, something primal gets triggered. A kind of invisible humiliation that stings worse than a direct insult in some ways, because at least a direct insult admits that you exist. And most people, when they feel that sting, start chasing. They speak louder. They push their way into conversations. They try to prove, through effort, through performance, through sheer presence, that they deserve to be noticed. And every single one of those moves does the same thing. It hands the other person exactly the power they were trying to take. Here is the truth about attention. When you chase it, you destroy its value. The moment you start performing for someone's gaze, you have confirmed to them, and to everyone watching, that their approval has control over you. And once they know that, they will never stop using it. Machiavelli once said, "Men are so simple and so much inclined to obey immediate needs that a deceiver will never lack victims." The need for immediate validation is one of the oldest traps in human nature. People who deliberately ignore you are counting on that need. They are waiting for you to crack and start reaching toward them. The Machiavellian response is to do the opposite. Go still. Pull your energy inward. Stop performing for people who haven't earned an audience. Carry yourself with the quiet confidence of someone who has somewhere more important to be. Because if you are truly building something with your life, you do. Your focus, your energy, your presence are not free. They go where they are valued. And in the places where they are not valued, you become scarce. Calm detachment is one of the most magnetic qualities a person can have. Not coldness, not arrogance, just a deep, unshakable sense of self that doesn't require outside confirmation to stay solid. When someone realizes that ignoring you doesn't produce the reaction they expected, when they see that you didn't shrink, didn't chase, didn't even seem bothered, something shifts. Curiosity replaces control, and suddenly the person who was being ignored becomes the most interesting person in the space. Don't go chasing acknowledgement. Let it come looking for you. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My value needs no validation. Number 4. Stay calm when someone lies about you. A false story can travel fast, faster than the truth, faster than you can catch it. One day, everything is normal. The next day, something is circulating, in conversations you're not part of, in whispers that stop when you walk into a space. You didn't say what they claimed you said. You didn't do what they said you did. But the story is already out there, already shaping how certain people see you, and it feels like a fire spreading in a room you can't get into. Every instinct you have says to run in and put it out. Immediately, loudly. Chase down everyone who might have heard it and make them understand the truth. And that instinct, though completely natural, is usually what turns a small fire into an inferno. Here is the dynamic that most people never fully understand. When a false story is circulating, the majority of people who heard it haven't fully decided what to think about it yet. It landed somewhere in the back of their mind as a possibility, something they noted and mostly moved past. They're watching loosely to see if it gains any weight. The moment you rush in with a panicked, emotional denial, the moment you start explaining yourself to everyone who will listen, you give that story the weight it was lacking. You make it the headline. You turn a rumor into an event. And everyone who barely registered it in the first place suddenly snaps to attention because your reaction just told them it matters. Panic amplifies. Calm suffocates. Machiavelli once said, "Before all else, be armed." In a social battle, composure is your armor. It does not mean you stay silent forever or never address what's false. Sometimes a single, calm, precise correction delivered in the right moment, with no emotion, no drama, no desperation, is exactly what cuts a false narrative off at the root. But that correction has to come from stillness, not from fear. There is something else happening here that's worth understanding. People don't just evaluate the story, they evaluate the person the story's about. How are they carrying themselves? Do they look like someone who has something to hide? Or do they look like someone who is settled in who they are? A person who stays grounded under a false accusation is automatically more believable than one who falls apart. The composure itself becomes evidence, not because calm people are always innocent, but because guilty people almost never look that calm. Your dignity is your defense. Guard it more than your reputation. Number 5. Stay calm. When someone tries to expose your weakness, there are certain people who treat every conversation like a search. They are probing constantly, watching your face while they talk, choosing their words carefully, steering the conversation toward subjects that might produce a reaction. They are not interested in connection. They are interested in information. Specifically the kind of information that tells them where you break. They bring up things you failed at. Past decisions that went sideways. Situations where you came up short. Personal subjects they know carry weight for you. And they do it with a particular kind of casualness, dropping it into the conversation like it's nothing, while their eyes stay sharp and attentive, watching for the flicker on your face. Because the flicker is the point. The moment you tense up, go quiet in the wrong way, get defensive, or let heat rise into your voice, they have what they came for. They now know exactly where the crack in the wall is, and that information does not disappear. It gets filed away, for later, for whenever they need leverage. This is not paranoia. This is just how certain people operate. And the only protection against it is to have nothing left to crack. When someone goes looking for your wound and finds nothing but a scar you've already made peace with, they leave empty-handed. The way you do that is by changing your relationship with your own past, not by hiding it, not by pretending the failures didn't happen, but by getting genuinely comfortable with the fact that you are a human being who has stumbled, struggled, and gotten back up. And that there is no shame in that story. There is actually strength in it. When you talk about your past struggles without flinching, when someone brings up a failure and you acknowledge it calmly without loading it with weight, you take away every tool they brought to the conversation. They came looking for a wound. They found a person who's already healed. That is not weakness. That is the most sophisticated form of armor there is. People can only weaponize what still hurts you, stop bleeding in front of them, and they run out of ammunition. Number 6. Stay calm. When people expect you to defend yourself, sometimes the atmosphere of a situation tells you everything before a single word gets spoken. You walk into a space, or a conversation, or a gathering, and you can feel it. Something happened, something circulated, something landed wrong, whether it deserved to or not. And now people are positioned around it, waiting. They want to see what you do next. They expect defensiveness. They're bracing for the scramble, the explanations, the justifications, the urgent need to set the record straight before the story gets any worse. And here is the trap that almost everyone falls into. If you immediately lunge into your defense, you have already accepted the frame. You've told the room that you believe you owe them an explanation right now, on their timeline, on their terms. You've handed a group of people, some of whom barely know you, the authority to judge you. And the longer you explain, the more it sounds like a person trying to talk their way out of something, rather than a person who simply has nothing to hide. What if instead you slowed down? What if you didn't rush? What if you let the silence sit for a moment, looked around without anxiety, and chose your words, or your silence, deliberately, rather than pouring everything out just to fill the pressure of the moment? Machiavelli once said, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see and few can feel." People form their impressions visually before they process anything logically. What they see when you stay grounded in a moment of pressure is not a guilty person performing innocence. They see someone who does not feel the need to scramble, someone with nothing eating at them from the inside. And that image, that picture, carries more weight than any explanation you could give. When you refuse to rush, you change what the situation is actually about. It stops being about the accusation or the rumor or whatever landed wrong. It becomes about you, the person who was supposed to fall apart and didn't. People don't forget that. It plants something in their mind that no defense strategy ever could. You do not owe anyone a performance. You don't owe the room your panic just because they showed up expecting it. The truth, spoken calmly and clearly in your own time, is far more powerful than a desperate flood of words delivered under pressure. Control the pace. Because the person who controls the pace controls the entire exchange. Now, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I speak on my terms. Number 7. Stay calm. When someone tries to read your emotions, some people have turned observation into a skill. They watch you while you talk. They notice the slight change in your voice when a particular subject comes up. They catch the moment your jaw tightens, or your eyes shift, or your words start coming a little faster than usual. They track the micro-expressions that move across your face in the split second before you have a chance to pull them back. And everything they collect, they use. Not always with bad intentions. Sometimes people read emotions purely by instinct. They're wired to be sensitive to what others feel, and they can't help picking up on signals. But in any situation where something is at stake, a confrontation, a power struggle, a conversation where one person is trying to gain leverage over the other, emotional transparency is a serious liability. When someone can read that you are anxious, they know when to push harder. When they can see that something excites you, they know when to pull back and make you wait. When they detect fear in your eyes, they know exactly how much pressure to apply before the wall comes down. Your emotional state is live intelligence, and most people broadcast it without even realizing they're doing it. Machiavelli once said, "A wise man will make more opportunities than he finds." Applied here, that means this: the calm person is not just defending themselves from being read. They are actively creating opportunity through their unreadability. When people cannot figure out what you are feeling, they become cautious, they second-guess, they wonder. And that wondering gives you room to move while they stand still trying to figure you out. Controlled calm is not the same thing as being cold or disconnected. You are not trying to become a stone wall. You are not trying to eliminate warmth or stop feeling things. That's not the goal, and it's not possible anyway. What you are building is something more precise: the ability to decide what you reveal and when you reveal it. To feel everything inside while showing only what serves you. The person who has mastered this becomes someone that others find genuinely difficult to handle. Not because they're aggressive or intimidating, but because they're unpredictable in a quiet way. You can't rattle what you can't read. You can't manipulate someone whose emotional map you don't have access to. You can't pressure a person who gives you no indication of where the pressure is landing. This is the edge that calm people carry into every hard conversation, every confrontation, every moment where someone else is trying to find a foothold. They bring nothing readable to the surface, and what's not readable cannot be used. Build that wall, not around your heart, but around your face. Let people wonder what you are thinking. Let them work for it. Let them walk away having learned nothing they didn't already know. That kind of quiet control is not something people are born with. It is built in the small moments, the daily situations, the ordinary pressures of life where you choose, again and again, to hold steady instead of spilling. Start now. Start today. Because every time you choose calm over reaction, you add one more brick to something that no one can take from you. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I choose what I show. Everything we covered today comes back to a single idea, one that Machiavelli understood before most of the world caught up to it. Power does not begin outside of you. It does not start with what people give you, what they say about you, or how they treat you in a given moment. Power begins on the inside. in the stillness that you carry when everything around you is loud. Look at what we walked through. 7 situations that most people handle by reacting, by flinching, by chasing, by explaining too much, by showing exactly where it hurts. When someone mocks them, they collapse. When a false ally appears, they relax their guard. When they get ignored, they start performing. When lies spread, they panic. When someone finds the soft spot, they bleed in plain sight. When the room expects a defense, they rush to deliver one. When someone tries to read them, they hand over the whole story without realizing it. And in every single one of those moments, the person who stays calm walks away with the advantage. Not because calm feels better, but because calm works. It is a strategy, it is a choice, and it is available to you right now in every situation you will walk into today. Machiavelli understood, more clearly than almost anyone who has ever written about power, that the person who keeps their composure when the world is pressing hard holds something that cannot be easily taken, because most people cannot do this, not when it actually counts. Their emotions betray them at the exact moment they need their head most. They hand over their map without even knowing they're holding it. But you can be different, not because you stop feeling things, but because you stop letting every feeling determine every move. That is not suppression. That is not coldness. That is strategy. That is what separates the person who gets played from the person who plays the long game. And if you commit, truly commit, to practicing these 7 principles in the small moments that don't seem to matter, something will shift, not overnight, but steadily. You will become the kind of person who is genuinely difficult to rattle, the kind of person who walks into any situation and carries themselves in a way that others can sense but can't quite name. A quiet solidity, an unsettling stillness, the kind of presence that makes people choose their words more carefully around you because they can't figure you out. That is the goal.